So you're moving to the Emerald Coast and you want to find out, is it better to buy or rent here? Let's talk about it. What is going on? It is Andrew with the Emerald Group, and listen, if you're trying to find out everything there is to know about the beautiful Emerald Coast, you've come to the right channel. Go ahead and click that subscribe button and tap that little bell so that you'll be notified every single time we do a new video. Listen, we've been getting a lot of emails of people wanting to move down here to this area. If that sounds like you, go ahead and give us a buzz. All of our contact information is on the screen, so you can either call, text, email, send a carrier pigeon, smoke signal, whatever you want. We've got you covered when it comes to moving here to the Emerald Coast. All right, buying and renting, right? That's always a big contender whenever you're gonna be moving to a new area. What am I gonna do? Should I buy? Should I rent? Do I want the equity? Do I not want the equity? Am I not gonna be there long enough? Am I gonna be there a really long time and I build lots and lots of money out of this house? Like, what's going to happen? Well, there's no end-all be-all answer, right? So obviously we are in real estate sales, so I'm a little bit biased, but the numbers are the numbers, and that's what we're gonna be going over here on my computer in just a minute. But I did wanna go over a couple of things to consider just as a baseline for any of these areas. First and foremost, let's go over the area of the Emerald Coast that we're going over, which is the west side. So the four main cities we are going to be talking about is the Navarre area, the Fort Walton Beach area, the Niceville area, and the Crestview area. Now, each of these areas are completely unique in their own way. We've got lots of videos on each of these cities if you want to find out more. But for this video, we are just talking about renting versus buying. Now, there are definitely more things to consider than just the numbers on a piece of paper that we're going to be going over here in a minute. There are other risk factors that you might want to take in place. For instance, with renting, you've got some great pros being that you don't have to take care of the roof and the AC and the big ticket items whenever they break. But at that same downfall, you don't know how quickly it will get done. If it was yours, you could call somebody, get somebody in there immediately. When it's your landlord's, you know, they're calling around trying to find a great price. They might not have the same sense of urgency when your AC goes out in the middle of summer here in Florida, right? Because that's what you're going to be dealing with. They're not going to be, they're going to be trying to save a buck. And buying has its pros and cons too. Big pro is it is building equity for you so that whenever you go to sell, you make some big bucks as long as you time it right. But that comes with the downfall is that the market does go in waves. So we could hit a down wave and you might not be able to sell it for a while. So you've got to be able to be comfortable handing it to a property manager and letting somebody else handle it, or handling it yourself if that's something that you can do. And that is, of course, if you're moving out of the area or not going to be living in that property, because of course you could just purchase and live in it, ride that wave out whenever it does inevitably fall or stagnate or correct, as they like to call it, and then ride that wave back up in order to make your money on it. So doesn't matter. There's lots of pros and cons. This isn't a video just on that. You can Google that all day. Let's get into buying versus renting, and let's look at the numbers. Let's go to the computer. Well, let's go ahead and start as far west as we're able to start, which will be the Navarre Gulf Breeze area. So as you're seeing up here on the screen, I can kind of show you the area that we are discussing right now will be right here from this Gulf Breeze all the way to this side of Navarre and all of this in between. This is all including the beach area, some of the condos and things like that are in. That is the area of Navarre that we'll be discussing. As you are seeing on your screen, we've got lots of different charts and things like that. Don't worry, I'm going to walk you through all of these. Right here is the big one that I wanted to talk about when it comes to rentals, which are the listing prices. There's three different categories here: active, new, and sold. And really the only one that we're worrying about for this video is sold, because we're just looking at past data that's going to help you make a better decision on whether or not you need to buy or rent. So we can take these two away, and you can see right here that over the last, each one of these is a month down here at the bottom. So January, the average rental is $1,600 a month, and it's been that way for a little while. We spiked during the summer, surprisingly spiked low. I'm guessing this was the COVID time frame that maybe some people were just a little bit weary on getting tenants in. I'm not sure. It's generally not this volatile. So what we can see here is the average rental price in Navarre is about $1,600, and will probably stay that way for the foreseen future, maybe increasing as the market increases as well. Now, while we're on this page, I do want to point out this chart right here, this number of listings chart. I wish I could make these a little bit bigger for you, but as you can see here, we've got active listings in red, and these are rental listings. These are not for sale. These are rental only. We've gone from the same time last year at about 79 different rental choices you had down to 32 2. So pretty big jump, almost a third of what it was just a year ago. And that's our market. You know, that's kind of on the same side as purchasing as well. It's like we can't put up homes fast enough. All right, now looking on the for sale side, we've got a couple of different things to look at here. First and foremost, we want to do the same thing that we're doing in the rental. We only care about solds. It's what's sold that matters. What they're listing up here in red doesn't really matter because, as you can see, that gap is sometimes wide, sometimes small. As it gets more and more of a seller's market, which I'll talk about in just here in a second, this gap is going to get smaller and smaller typically, right? So if we take out the active and the new, we're looking at sold median sell price in the Navarre area at $305,000. Now, as you can see, it's creeped up from 267, sorry, all the way up to 305. So prices are definitely increasing. We've been seeing that year over year for quite a while. And so looking at a $305,000 average property here, so the average rental is $1,600 a month. To put this in perspective, a $305,000 home on a conventional loan with 20% down would be a mortgage of approximately $1,330, saving you a few $100. And of course, that's with 20% down. So what does it look like for a VA borrower? Because that is going to be a large chunk of the people moving to this area. Well, that with zero down and the interest rates as they sit right now, you'd be looking at approximately just shy of $1,500 a month. So either way, saving you a little bit of money there, but you still have to put into the equation all the other things we talked about earlier in the video. Now, I did want to bring this up because this is going to come in play if you do decide to purchase. That as you see these numbers here, this is the number of listings that are going on. We've seen a gigantic drop. So not only do we have a lot of buyers in the market, we also saw a decrease in listings in the area. And then now everybody is kind of competing here in these little charts, right? So you've got the active listings in red, then you've got new listings popping up in this yellow bar right here, and then sold listings kind of teetering on the same. So as you're seeing, as they're putting them on the market, they're selling essentially. That's what this is showing us. At 105 sold listings last month alone, whereas they only got, let's see here, 145 new listings on. So kind of a good month for us when these bars are separated and the black one is on top. It's a little bit, it just shows that the market is trending in a way that we are not getting as many listings as we need to be able to keep up with demand. So then you can go into what's called absorption rate. Absorption rate is essentially, if we were to stop putting homes on the market today, how long would it take for every home to get bought up based on buyer demand? So as you see, during COVID, we had a pretty big drop and then it kind of evened out a little bit and it's been steadily dropping. It is currently at 0.92 months of inventory. So call it 1 month of inventory essentially. If no more listings got on the market in 1 month, there wouldn't be a house for sale out here. So that's very, very low. Typically 4 to 6 is called a stable market, or stable is not the right word. It's more of a middle of the road market. It very rarely stays in that 4 to 6 month window. Anything above 6 months is a buyer's market. It is good for buyers to negotiate off the price. And then anything in the bottom is what we call a seller's market in that, 0 to 4 month range, which is what we're showing here. It's a heavy seller's market. This does not mean that it's bad for the buyer. This just means that it's more beneficial for negotiations for the seller. With interest rates being so low, with the Fed not raising any of that and keeping, artificially keeping everything low or naturally keeping things low, however you want to look at it, the interest rates are so low that it still makes sense, because something that's $305,000 now, if the interest rate were to jump up even 1 point, it would make a difference in your mortgage payment by several $100s. So that could definitely come into your decision making, right? So now that we've got the map up, let's go ahead and look at which area we'll be talking about here, which will be the Fort Walton Beach area, which will actually go all the way to the east side of Navarre. So right about here where Navarre is ending, there's actually a small area called Mariester right here, and a little bit on this side of Hurlburt Field, and that is going to be included in these numbers. And this will go all the way up even into Shalimar right here and Paquitu Bayou. Yes, there's a little tiny hidden neighborhood right here a lot of people don't know about. It's pretty cool. But anyway, this will kind of be the whole thing. It will also include Okaloosa Island and the condos and stuff up there. So days on market will be a little bit skewed because condos tend to stay on the market just a little bit longer. But we're not looking at that. That's not affecting us, what we're looking for. So that is that. Let's get into the numbers. So as mentioned before, we don't want to look at any of the new or active. They're showing us just a small piece of the picture we don't need. All right, now that we've gotten Fort Walton Beach's information up, let's go ahead and look at this. As I said before, not super worried about the active or median listings here. We did see a dip right here during COVID, then it rise back up as we're used to, and then we saw a dip during the winter, which again is pretty common. So you're looking at the average price right now, $1,350 a month roughly. It's 1.34 technically, I know, $1,340, but well, at $1,350 for easy numbers. And then you see this graph looks a little bit different than Navarre's, whereas we've got a higher number of active listings, or at least we did until very recently, and then we are falling beneath beneath that as well for rentals. As you're seeing with the number of listings here, we started off with a lot of rentals here in the area about last year, same time, and then it's dipping off and things are evening out again. So now let's go ahead and take a look at purchasing to see what that would change. All right, now that we are in Fort Walton Beach's sales side, let's go ahead and take a look at this. Again, the active and new doesn't really matter all that much, but the sold median sell price, kind of see the trend here. There's a little spike here. It's a little kind of anomaly, but the average sale price is $254,000. Call it 255 for easy numbers. Running the numbers on the mortgage on that versus the rental price average of $1,350. Your conventional loan, 20% down at 2.75 interest rate, and that's the number I'm using for all of these, by the way. So putting down that $50,000 for a property like this, $50,000 and change, obviously, would be $1,080. Whereas if you were coming out here on a VA, again, like a lot of people will be, with that 2.25% that we have currently, that would be about $1,225. So either way, saving you a little bit of money there. So then it goes into all the ancillary stuff that we talked about before to see if this is the best bet for you. Now looking at the number of listings, we've got a total number of active listings of 213, with 185 of them being brand new and 132 selling. So as these, again, the same lines are kind of teetering back and forth. That's just showing that, you know, we're diving deeper into a seller's market. Doesn't surprise me. I expect this summer to see a little bit of a spike, especially as COVID starts dying down even more and more. I know here in our area, it's not really a big thing. We sort of wear our masks in the grocery store and that's about it. Other than that, we barely even notice it's out there. But now I didn't, you know, want to take a look at this absorption rate as you saw this big drop here, meaning it's becoming a faster and faster seller's market very quickly. In fact, you know, but 9 months ago, we had 2.2 months of inventory. We are now sitting at 1.3 right here in Fort Walton Beach. So not as heavy as Navarre is, but still definitely moving very, very quickly. So if you are purchasing in this area, just note that you're going to have to fight for it a little bit. Probably going to have to compete if it's a beautiful home. It's just the nature of the game right now. But as you saw with the numbers, it still technically makes sense if you were to put apples to apples and compare everything, taking some of the risk out, because obviously you just never know what's going to happen with your property. You don't know if you're going to move. You don't know, you know, there's a lot of things that we don't know there. But pound for pound, it seems like it is definitely better to purchase, which sounds like I'm being biased because I'm a real estate agent. But for me, it's great news, but the numbers are the numbers. All right, heading up northeast, we are looking at the Niceville area. So it's going to be right outside of Eglin Air Force Base. You're going to have that around here going into Valparaiso, all the way into Niceville. And my map cut off short. It actually is going all the way over into Blue Water Bay. It does not go any further than that. So that will be Niceville that we're talking about. This is a very popular area for people that are either up at Duke Field, 7th Special Forces, or down in the Eglin Air Force Base area. Generally, people in Hurlburt Field won't generally travel this far, but it is definitely an option for any of them moving out there. So let's take a look at rental prices. So again, taking these two bad boys out, we see a little bit of volatility, very normal. It's really not that big of a difference, but you've got your average between 1.53 and 1.7. I actually think the 1.7 is a little bit more accurate. We just sort of had a little dip here, as you can kind of see with this. So we'll call it $1,700 for the purposes of this video. I don't normally go over absorption rate on rentals, but on this one, I definitely think that it's worthwhile looking at 1 month of inventory, meaning just like all the other areas, in case I haven't said it before, you got to be quick, even on the rental side of things. All right, so we've got it up on the screen for the sales. I've already knocked out the active and new so that we can just look at the solds. In the month of January, 335, that seems to be about the average point around here, so that's very good. It gives us a good indicator. So you can rent for $1,700 a month or purchase for around $335,000 total. And the mortgage on that, including your taxes, including your insurance, and I estimate high on both of those just to be safe, on a conventional loan, 20% down would be $1,350. So saving yourself a pretty good chunk of change there, $350 a month, plus you're owning it, getting equity, all that good stuff. Then you've got your VA loan, which is a little bit closer, getting a little bit dicier, getting a little bit closer to that 1,700 mark at $1,615. Again, all inclusive with everything. So still either way, a little bit cheaper, even using your VA loan out here in this area. All right, head the far drive way up north to Crestview, as I like to call it, Crestucky, just to kind of give them a hard time. It's not that bad of a drive, it really isn't. But this will be located right outside of, as you can see right here, Duke Field and 7th Special Forces, which is somewhere around here. So if you're at either one of those, this might be a good spot for you. And this will be Crestview right here. And of course, it does go up further north. I did not capture that in my map, but we're already here, so we're just going to keep moving. All right, now we're looking at the rental stats for Crestview right now. At a glance, we're going to move these two. Look at this big old hill that it's got right here. I'm just going to go and use this as the average of 1,330. let's call it $13.50 for good measure, just because some of these other prices are a little bit higher, and I think these are going to be a little bit more accurate, but I'm trying to give renting the benefit of the doubt here. So let's just say the average is $1,350 for purposes of what we're talking about. One thing to definitely consider here in Crestview before we go any further and compare it to the sales side is right here on the number of listings that we've got. So we've got the sold listings at 53, we've got new at 38, and we've got total at 30. So they're losing rentals faster than they're putting them on the market. As of this last month, they're actually losing. So that's going to make this absorption rate go down even further. So definitely a little bit difficult to get a rental in Crestview. All right, I've got the listing prices up right here. I've already taken out the other stuff as I've been doing all video. This one kind of dropped down to 230, 500. I'm actually going to use this higher number, 242, 500, again, trying to give rentals some benefit of the doubt. But typically in our market, as you're seeing, it is generally more expensive. So at $242,500, your average price point here in Crestview, your conventional loan at 20% down is $1,050. And then with your VA 0 down, if you're using that, or maybe you've got FHA, this will be a little bit closer to it, even though you'll have a little bit down payment. But that one is $1,200. It's actually a little less than $1,200. I rounded up a little bit to make it sound better. Either way, saving you a couple $100 on your monthly expenses there. But again, you're having the risk and everything that we talked about before. Now, one thing I did want to point out on this one, which is kind of cool, is we actually saw the absorption rate jump up for the first time in an entire, well, almost a year, about 8 months, give or take. So it's definitely interesting to see. I guess it technically jumped up right here, but it's kind of even. But very interesting to see. Maybe Crestview, I know they're building like crazy out there, so maybe that's helping. Maybe they're finally catching up on some of these builds. And then you've got your number of listings out here, just like all the other areas that we've talked about on this west side of the Emerald Coast, which is what this video was kind of tailored around. You're kind of seeing that they're fighting a little bit, and it's just kind of staying even, you know, so we're getting about as many listings as we are selling them. Just to recap, it seems that no matter which area on this side of the Emerald Coast that you are on, Niceville, Navarre, Fort Walton Beach, or Crestview, it definitely makes more sense to purchase. In most cases, again, you have to take your individual circumstance into play to see if that's the best for you. But money-wise, pound for pound, on paper, it is definitely better to purchase out here. So, shameless plug here, give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, any of that good stuff. And if this was helpful to you, hit that like button, turn it blue for me. That would be awesome. And, well, that's all I got. See ya.